40 Rules of Love, Part 65, Shams, Konya, February 1246. Bottle of the wine stood between us, loaded with the smell of hot earth, wild herbs, and dark berries. After Aladdin was gone, Rumi was so sad he couldn't talk for a while. He and I stepped out into the snow-covered courtyard. It was one of those bleak February evenings when the air felt heavy with a peculiar stillness. We stood there watching the birds move, listening to a world that offered us nothing but silence. A wind brought us a whiff of the forest from afar, fragrant and musky. For a moment, I believe we both wanted to leave this town for good. Then I took one of the bottle of wine. I knelt beside a climbing rose tree that stood thorny and bare in the snow, and I started to pour the wine on the soil beneath it. Rumi's face brightened as he smiled his half-thoughtful, half-excited smile. Slowly, stunningly, the bare rose tree came alive, its bark softening like human skin. It produced a single rose in front of our eyes. As I kept pouring the wine under the tree, the rose revealed a lovely warm shade of orange. Next, I took the second bottle and poured it in the same way. The rose's orange color turned into a bright crimson tone, glowing with life. Now there remained only a glassful of wine at the bottom of the bottle. I poured that into a glass, drank half of it, and the remaining half I offered to Rumi. He took the glass with trembling hands, responding to my gesture with a beaming reciprocity of kindness and equanimity. This man who had never touched alcohol in his life. Religious rules and prohibitions are important, he said, but they should not be turned into unquestionable taboos. It is with such awareness that I drink the wine you offer me today, believing with all my heart that there is a sobriety beyond the drunkenness of love. Just as Rumi was about to take the glass off his lips, I snatched it back and flung it to the ground. The wine spilled on the snow like drops of blood. Don't drink it, I said, no longer feeling the need to continue with this trial. If you weren't going to ask me to drink this wine, why did you send me to the tavern in the first place? Rumi asked, his tone not so much curious as compassionate. You know why, I said, smiling. Spiritual growth is about the totality of our consciousness, not about obsessing over particular aspects. Rule number 32. Nothing should stand between yourself and God. Not imams, priests, rabbis, or any other custodians of moral or religious leadership. Not spiritual masters, not even your faith. Believe in your values and your rules, but never lord them over others. If you keep breaking other people's heart, whatever religious duty you perform is not good. Stay away from all sorts of idolatry, for they will blur your vision. Let God and only God be your guide. Learn the truth, my friend, but be careful not to make a fetish out of your truths. I had always admired Rumi's personality and known that his compassion, endless and extraordinary, was what I lacked in life. But today my admiration for him had grown by leaps and bounds. This world was full of people obsessed with wealth, recognition, or power. The more signs of success they earned, the more they seemed to be in need of them.
greedy and covetous. They rendered worldly possessions their qibla, always looking in that direction, unaware of becoming the servants of the things they hungered after. That was a common pattern. It happened all the time, but it was as rare as rubies. For a man who had already made his way up, a man who had plenty of gold, fame, and authority, to renounce his position of all of a sudden one day and endanger his reputation for an inner journey, one that nobody could tell where or how it would end. Rumi was that rare Rabbi. God wants us to be modest and unpretentious, I said. And He wants to be known, Rumi added softly. He wants us to know Him with every fiber of our being. That is why it is better to be watchful and sober than to be drunk and dizzy. I agreed. Until it turned dark and cold, we sat in the courtyard with a single red rose between us. There was, beneath the chill of the evening, the scent of something fresh and sweet. The wine of love made our hard heads spin gently, and I realized with glee and gratitude that the wind no longer whispered despair. Part 66. Ella, Northampton, June 24, 2008. Baby, there's a new Thai place in town, David said. They say it's good. Why don't we go there tonight? Just the two of us. The last thing Ella wanted to do on this Tuesday was go out for dinner with her husband, but David was so insistent that she couldn't say no. The Silver Moon was a small restaurant with stylish lamps, leather booths, black napkins, and so many mirrors hung low on every wall that the customers felt as if they were dining with their own reflections. It didn't take Ella long to feel out of place there, but it wasn't the restaurant that had made her feel this way. It was her husband. She had glimpsed in David's eye an unusual glitter. Something isn't normal. He looked worried, pensive even. What disturbed her most was that he had stuttered a few times. Ella knew that for his childhood speech impediment to surface, David had to be very distressed. A young waitress, dressed in a traditional outfit, came to take their orders. David asked for chili basil scallops, and Ella decided on the vegetables and tofu in coconut sauce. Staying true to her 40th birthday decision to refrain from eating meat, they also ordered wine. They talked about the sophisticated decor for a few minutes, discussing the effects of black napkins versus white napkins. Then there was silence. 20 years of marriage, 20 years of sleeping in the same bed, sharing the same shower, eating the same food, raising 3 kids. And what it all added up to was silence. Or so Ella thought. I see you have been reading Rumi, David remarked. Ella nodded, though with some surprise. She didn't know what surprised her more, to hear that David knew about Rumi or that he cared about what she'd read. I started reading his poetry to help me to write my report on sweet blasphemy. But then I became interested in it, and now I am reading it for myself. Ella said by way of explanation. David grew distracted by a wine stain on the tablecloth, then sighed with a valedictory expression on his face. Ella, I know what's going on, he said. I know everything. What are you talking about? Ella asked. although she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. About your affair, David stammered. I'm aware of it. Ella looked at her husband, flabbergasted. In the glow of the candle that the waitress had just lit for them, David's face showed pure despair. My affair? Ella blurted, quicker and louder than she intended. She instantly noticed the couple at the table turning in their direction. Embarrassed, she dropped her voice to a whisper and repeated, What affair? I'm not stupid, David said. I checked your email account and read your messages with that man. You did what? Ella exclaimed. Ignoring the question, his face contorted with the weight of what he was about to announce. David said, I don't blame you, Ella. I deserved it. I neglected you, and you looked for compassion somewhere else. Ella lowered her gaze to her glass. The wine had a charming color, a deep dark ruby. For a second, she thought she glimpsed specks of iridescent sparkle on its surface, like a trail of lights guiding her. And perhaps there was a trail. It all felt surreal. Now David paused, deciding how best or whether to reveal what he had in mind. I'm ready to forgive you and leave this behind, he finally remarked. There were many things Ella wanted to say at that moment, poignant and mocking, tense and dramatic, but she chose the easiest one. With gleaming eyes, she asked, What about your affairs? Are you also going to leave them behind? The waitress arrived then with their orders. Ella and David sat back and watched her leave the plates on the table and refill the glasses with exaggerated politeness. When she finally left, David flicked his eyes up toward Ella and asked, So, is this what this was about? Was it for revenge? No, Ella said, shaking her head in disappointment. This is not about revenge. It never was. Then what is it about? Ella clasped her hands, feeling as if everything and everyone in the restaurant, the customer, the waiters, the cooks, and even the tropical fish in the fish tank had stopped to hear what she was going to say. It was about love, she said at last. I love Aziz. Ella expected her husband to roll with laughter, but when she finally found the courage to look him in the eye, there was only horror in his face, quickly replaced by the expression of someone who was trying to solve a problem with minimal damage. Suddenly, she had a moment of clarity. Love was a serious word, loaded and quite unusual for her, a woman who had said so many negative things about love in the past. We have 3 kids, David said, his voice trailing off. Yes, and I love them very much, Ella said with a slump in her shoulders. But I also love Aziz. Stop using that word, David intersected. He took a big gulp from his glass before he spoke again. I made major mistakes, but I never stopped loving you, Ella, and I have never loved anyone else. We can both learn from our mistakes. For my part, I can promise you that the same thing won't happen again. You don't need to go out and look for love anymore. I didn't go out and seek love, Ella muttered, more to herself than to him. Rumi says, we don't need to hunt for love outside ourselves. All we need to do is to eliminate the barriers inside that keep us away from love. Oh my god, what's come over you? This isn't you. Stop being so romantic, will you? Come back to your old self. Ella snapped, then added, please. Ella furrowed her brow and inspected her nails as if there were something about them troubling her. In truth, she would remember another moment in time when she herself had said virtually the same words to her daughter. She felt as if a circle had completed. Nodding her head slowly, she put her napkin aside. Can we please go now? She said. I'm not hungry. That night they slept in separate beds, and early in the morning, the first thing Ella did was write a letter to Aziz.